I have just recently, for the first time ever, watched Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing movie. I honestly thought it was gonna suck major balls, but I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed it. The setting is fun, there's fun fights, yeah, there's some stuff that don't make a whole lot of sense. Some CGI is ass, but all in all, it's a fun movie. But what about the video game tie-in? Well, I think it's time we look back at the Van Helsing video game. Van Helsing released in 2004 alongside the movie it is based on, and after the voiceless cutscene that really only covers the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story for some reason, we're led directly into pursuing the monster, just like the first time we meet Van Helsing in the movie. Now, just like with the movie, I had not actually experienced this before. I'd never seen gameplay, I never heard anyone talk about this game. It wasn't until some of you guys recommended it to me in some of my past videos that I even considered playing this thing in the first place. So first of all, thank you for that. And second of all, please keep those suggestions coming. It could be any video game you would like to see me play for this channel. Whether movie tie-in or not, it doesn't matter what console, it doesn't matter what gen, any game of all time, let me know what would you like to see down in the comments. Please keep those up. So I had no clue what to actually expect, but it only took me one press of a button to figure out exactly what kind of game this is. All I did was jump, and I immediately knew this was a Devil May Cry clone. Now, I don't believe just because it's a clone that automatically means it sucks. Not all clones are created equal. Video game tie-in games have less time to be made, so them grasping at a successful game's mechanic, gameplay, ideas, all while still injecting stuff that makes sense from their movie, gets a pass from me. I also believe video game tie-ins should be graded on a curve. You can't compare this to an actual Devil May Cry game, it doesn't hold a candle to it obviously. But as far as video game tie-in games goes, this was actually a pretty good one. Van Helsing starts out equipped with 2 handguns and his Tojo blades, and as the game unfolds, he later gets a shotgun, crossbow, an electric gun, a Gatling gun, and swords. You can easily change between them on the fly. One attack button controls the firearms, the other controls the melee weapons. You collect green orbs by destroying breakable objects or after killing enemies to take to the armory at the end of missions to buy extra moves, life increasers, ammo increasers, and items to help you out by restoring your health, giving you super fast speed for a short time, and replenish your ammo. Now, I don't mean your traditional ammo, I mean your holy ammo, because after you shoot it, you're left them with a bunch of holes. Yeah, I stole that joke from Gears of War. So, you see this blue bar? As you attack and shoot, you're building up this bar. And with it, you can enhance your ammo, dealing more damage. Different enemies are weaker to different firearms, alternate ammos, so you will be switching between the ammos and the melee weapons accordingly to deal more damage. Some combos are done by changing the direction of the attacks, which kinda sounds a bit goofy, but actually work pretty well. You can also buy a very useful dodge move where he shoots as he dodges. This works surprisingly well, as does the lock-on system. I was very surprised that none of the game's combat felt wonky at all. You can also use his grappling hook to start a combo or pull yourself up to an enemy. The combat is very basic, I will say, but somehow it still managed to be very fun. It's super satisfying to shoot and slice enemies from the movie, and even a handful of enemies that are not from the movie, but that make sense that would fit in this world, like zombies and gargoyles. This compass looking thing up in the corner is for your finisher moves. So for every 5 kills you get before the clock goes out, you get an insta-kill attack. It could also be done to bosses. It won't kill them, but it will drain some of their HP. The boss fights aren't super intricate. None of them really go past just hit them when you can and run around and dodge. They throw stuff at you that will have you jumping and dodging their incoming attacks. They aren't super tough, but they're also not a walk in the park. There's definitely some nice balance there, enough to where you will need to be prepared carrying some of those helpful items I mentioned before. Outside the combat, there's platforming with the grappling hook and some hopping around that works okay. The game is super linear, but there are also some secret corners that will light up your grappling hook logo, leading you to a secret to find more orbs, or 1/2 of the health increaser, or secret areas that you're teleported to where you can do time trials and challenges. You can also find cheat glyphs, and I like how many there are and how goofy some of the cheats are. I also enjoy the fact that you get to earn them, rather than typing some random word or phrase that will unlock all of them like most games did back in the day. You have to earn them, you have to fight for them. The layout of the levels is a bit tangly with doors that need certain enhanced ammo to break and go through, but This is done with linear backtracking. You'll eventually find the proper weapon and enhancement to get through the door. The locations from the game are from the movie, plus some extra creepy corridors, snowy mountains, caves, labs, and towns. Plus the new places fit the setting of the movie very well. So as easy as the double jump led me to think this was a Devil May Cry clone, so did the camera angles, which I don't believe are the greatest, even from Devil May Cry 1 itself. They're not that great. They do get better as the DMC series goes along, but you can't really control it. And in here, some of the angles that they give you aren't necessarily the greatest. Plus, it can be a bit annoying when you are on the border of two camera angles, so it's constantly switching, really not letting you see either way. At the end of the mission, you get scores for very important things like the time you spend to beat the level, your kill count, shots fired, and probably the most important stat, whether or not you finish with your hat on. Some enemies can knock the hat right off and even become curious and decide to put it on themselves. It's just a little thing like this that goes a long way for me. If this wasn't in the game, no one would give a shit. But the fact that Helsing can lose his hat like he's Mario gets a huge pop from anyone who plays this game. Then you add the grunt walking over and testing it out for himself. It's just an amazing detail that doesn't really go unnoticed by me, because it shows that there's effort put in there, and we appreciate that. But not only from the devs, the actors did a hell of a job as well, and their effort is clearly heard and appreciated. No one half-assed their part, like many actors tend to do with video game tie-ins. I can hear how much Hugh actually cared, and I appreciate that. Another little dumb thing that they did that I really liked was the main menu. It literally just brings up the main menu on the screen you're on, and you can just go back in with no loading screen. Newer games need to do this. I've played some that kind of do something similar, but this little dinky PS2 game has done it the best I've ever seen. I know, I get it, this might be so stupid and insignificant to everybody else, but I like it, so I have to point it out. Story-wise, it's not beat by beat like the movie, which in this case I actually think is a good thing in my opinion. It's a more watered-down version of the movie. It's simple, so it doesn't get convoluted to the point where it creates plot holes for itself, especially with the whole family thing, having to kill Dracula or whatever. Here, it made things make sense. There's an emphasis of Dracula and Van Helsing actually being best friends back in the day, almost like brothers, giving more backstory than they did in the movie. And I liked it more here, rather than just that Van Helsing is the archangel that killed Dracula the very first time. Oh, who cares? They made it a bit more meaningful and injected some emotion here. They also save Dracula a bit, like you don't see him for more than halfway. So you do get to fight Igor and his three hoes in the meantime. Anna shows up, but only in cutscenes, and plays more of a damsel in distress. I wish she was a bit more of a badass like she is in the movie. Maybe even giving us a side mission or two where we get to play as her would have been nice. So when Dracula does show up, I feel like it's done better than the movie. He's less cheesy, which is one of my main issues from the movie. I felt like he overacted at times. You do get to fight him 3 times, and it's kind of the same battle. They just keep adding different stuff each time. And I did find the final fight to be super anticlimactic. I was really wishing they would let me play as some sort of giant werewolf thingy so we can have a wolfy situation. Instead, it's more of a familiar fight that we already had 2 times before. And the end of the story plays out in a cutscene, and it follows the movie pretty closely. There's pretty elaborate cutscenes throughout the whole game, like a lot happens in them, and there's quite a lot of them. Not so many that it's like annoying that you're just sitting there watching, but there's enough to notice that there's a lot of them, and they actually look pretty good, so I can't complain. Van Helsing is one of the few games on the PS2 that actually ran on 480p. Of course, I love the Castlevania shout out. One of the books in the library mentions the Belmont family. Another book has a reference to The Mummy, a film that shares a director with Van Helsing. The game is super short. I mean, I beat it in less than 3 hours, but in those 3 hours, I had much more fun than I was expecting from this game. I like that they used Devil May Cry as a base and actually did a fairly good job in making their own version of it. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a 10 out of 10 game by any means, but it did surprise me how much I enjoyed the shooting mixing with the weapon play. The story is okay, but it made changes for the better to make it more contained and enjoyable. Overall, it's a short, good, surprising time. Therefore, I believe this game is actually better than its movie. But of course, those are my thoughts. I want to hear yours on the game, on the movie, on the digital chonies. Anything at all, let me know down in the comments. If you made it this far, prove it by dropping a like. And if you enjoyed the video, I have many more you can check out on my channel, so don't forget to subscribe. I will leave you with 2 more Hugh Jackman tie-in game videos right over here. Thank you guys for watching, and remember to always and forever, you do you.